So go ahead and start. All right, you ready?
Sure.
Great. All right, today we have Didier Hilhorst here with us at Pocketables. We're going to be talking about Flipboard. Didier is one of the designers working on the application, and one of the reasons we have such a beautiful magazine-style app to flip through our social networks. So before we get into it, we're just going to, let's ask Didier, can you explain what Flipboard is to users who have never downloaded or heard of it before?
Yeah, absolutely. So Flipboard is a social magazine where we take a number of sources from social media, news, feeds, and put everything in one place where you can flip through content and enjoy reading articles and updates from your friends, photos, etc., all kinds of media.
Okay, great. What marketplaces is Flipboard currently available for? What platforms?
So currently we're available for iOS, iPhone, and iPad. Obviously, we started out with the iPad. And then we're also available on Android phones and tablets.
Okay, that's great. What would you say makes Flipboard? What is unique about Flipboard in the sense that we already have so many social networking applications. We have applications like Seismic and other unified applications that bring together an experience from Twitter and Facebook. And what is it about Flipboard that you see as an advantage? Is it what's practical about the magazine style? Why is that such a desire?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think those services are complementary, but I think Flipboard excels in the reading experience. So the way we lay out the content, the way you read the articles, the way you flip through the content as if it were a magazine, I think that excels. But as I said, we obviously complement Twitter, Facebook, and other social media.
Okay. When someone opens Flipboard for the first time and they set up their social networks, can you kind of tell us a little bit about the experience? What is the user going to experience for the first time if they've never seen it before?
So when you open Flipboard for the first time, I think it would be fun to show that a little bit for people that don't know. You get this beautiful cover that and we'll go through different images there that converts, as you can see. And then once you flip past the first page, we'll just ask you to select a few categories you're interested in, from the usual suspects like technology and business to other topics that you might be interested in. And once you're done, we'll start building your Flipboard, and you land on a page with the big content tiles, and you're ready to go. So it's really 20 seconds, even less, and you're ready to consume content. And obviously, you can add much more from our content guide and our editors that find these amazing sources within Flipboard.
One of the things that first catch our eye was cover stories. So you have a I guess we call it a list or a section for specific cover stories. How does Flipboard determine what is a cover story? Is there any specific algorithm? Is it the most popular stories from your feeds? What is cover story?
Cover Stories takes all the bets from Flipboard, and that might be the source you subscribe to from Twitter, Facebook, or other things you've added. And also in our latest release, it might include magazines you've added from friends or from people that have created these magazines. And it puts it all together in this one beautiful feed. So that you can just keep flipping through the content. You don't have to go to these individual sources all the time to make sure that you get your content.
Okay, great. How many services is Flipboard currently connected to?
You can connect to more than a dozen services on Flipboard. So anything from Facebook, Twitter, but also Instagram to have your photos on Flipboard. And one of my favorite ones is actually SoundCloud. I love putting together sort of my own playlists and listen to music while I'm reading Flipboard.
That's great. Can you listen to clips from SoundCloud while viewing the rest of the magazine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And we've also seen people curate their own magazines and adding soundtracks to them. So I think that's been a really creative avenue people have used audio, and I think it's been really well done. You can control the audio player right from Flipboard.
Does it, if someone's interested in a magazine, does it cost for a user to go down that road, or have you made it easy for any user to access free of charge?
Easy for anyone to access free of charge.
That's great. That's excellent to hear. Are there any future services or connectivity we might see from Flipboard, or?
Absolutely. We're always looking at integrating new, interesting services. We've just recently integrated with Etsy. Whereas they're not an account, you can actually browse Etsy content and you can share that. And I think there will be many more in the future. We're always looking to integrate interesting new services.
So Flipboard is really expanding past just the primary social media sources and is really looking at any content. I mean, Etsy's a shop, right? So we're really looking at any content that you feel may just entertain the user.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think shopping is a great experience on Flipboard, combined with all the content. I think there's going to be much more to see in the future, and we're looking forward to seeing what people come up with and what it means for Flipboard and consuming that content.
Yeah. You're really creating that custom news experience. You have, I guess the advertisements are enjoyable this time because it's your own Etsy content, so to speak. So you can enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what's great about it. It really becomes part of the natural flow of how you would consume it.
Okay. What is, over the next few years for Flipboard, what do you really see as evolving? What are the changes? What are the goals for Flipboard?
So I think we started with our latest release, so where people can create their own magazines. I think it was really interesting what we saw happen. I think right now we have over 1 million magazines that have been created, which is pretty fantastic. And they go from subjects such as a mayor informing their citizens about local things, or teachers, educators using this tool. And it's really easy. You just take any story and put it in the magazine. So that has been a starting point, really, providing that canvas, that paint for people to get creative. And we've seen amazing results. I think what we're going to see is work more on that and make it even better, allow people to connect over that amazing content and see how we can support that in the future.
That's really great. That's really great to hear. All right, so you mind if we ask you a few design questions, since that's your area of expertise? Great. So Flipboard's obviously, as you said, designed on the idea of a magazine. Was that the original inspiration for Flipboard? Was that the design from the start?
I think actually it was definitely the inspiration for the experience. Because what's great about a magazine is that you just start flipping, and it looks beautiful. Even the advertisements in a magazine look beautiful and feel part of the experience. But also, I think our CEO Mike McHugh looked at the current state of reading content on the web. So if you take a usual website and the story, you get a big nav across the top, you get advertisements on the side. I mean, the content ends up taking like maybe 20 to 30%. And we wanted to sort of look at, well, how can we make the reading experience really enjoyable? And at the time when the iPad was announced, that was a perfect product device to start bringing back some of that beautiful magazine, those magazine layouts, and being able to actually touch the device and flip the pages. So it was a combination of being inspired by the beauty of magazines and being somewhat frustrated with the current state of reading content on the web.
So obviously your design goals was simplicity in design with the magazine flow. Were there any other specific goals you were aiming for besides having a clean experience? Was there anything specific?
I think what was important to us is to make the content become the way you navigate the application. And by that I mean, when you enter Flipboard, you get these tiles of content, and you tap them to go in, and then you flip. So it's really, there's no extensive navigation in the primary function of Flipboard. It's really it's not just simplicity, but it's also rethinking how people interact with content and how you consume it.
Now, each Flipboard page, the layouts for the pages themselves, are those randomly generated depending on the content, or because I read through Flipboard, I'll check out content, and everything seems perfectly arranged. Is it dynamic, or is it a static template that just shifts?
So we look at the type of content. Does an article have a large image? Is it a photograph? Is it a selection of tweets? So we look at all those aspects and decide on the layouts that we use that way, and try to really optimize for the most beautiful reading experience.
Okay, that's great. I was browsing Google Plus through Flipboard, and there was a beautiful album of one of our coworkers here had a baby recently. So congratulations to him, and it was a beautiful layout. All the photos, he had put up an album, and that was when I opened Flipboard, that was definitely one of the striking moments of how well this app was laid out, and it was just an experience you were not going to get from the Google Plus website. It was very well put together, and that was the focus, that content, which was beautiful. What were some of the struggles you had, though, when designing Flipboard? Was there anything specifically difficult?
I think going back to what I said earlier about looking at websites, looking at magazines, one of the biggest challenges for us is just what will it look like? How do we make the experience so that it's natural to a touch experience, and also let the content shine? No matter where you are inside the application, whether it's your starting point or you're reading, the different articles, really making the content shine, but also think about, attributing the content source and its social networks. Because what's great about Flipboard versus a magazine is if you see that album that you just talked about in Google Plus and you want to give a shout out back, you can hit +1 right there, or you can add a comment right there, which I think is it's the best of both worlds. You get the beauty of magazines, but you get the interactivity and the social connection that we're all used to and use every day.
So it's like Magazine 2.0. We're seeing that two-way interaction, the ability to not only read the magazine but share it with friends, or you have your own input essentially. It's yours.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think even with the latest release, it's become apparent that people are taking all these stories that are on Flipboard and creating their new packaged contents, which has been really amazing to see.
Yeah, it's great. It seems like Flipboard is an excellent solution for this problem we seem to have of too many social networks and running between all to find the best highlights of what your friends and coworkers are doing. And it's very relaxing. I've actually used Flipboard in the morning. You grab a cup of coffee. It's a good way to just catch up on what's going on, and it's calm. It flows. We have a few questions from a few of our readers, so I just wanted to go ahead and ask those. Pranav would like to know, how do you keep the quality of your design consistent while working, and what tools do you use to help plan the interface out?
So I think what's important to know is that obviously we have a design team at Flipboard, but I think everyone at Flipboard really cares about the product and the design of it. I mean, Mike McHugh, our CEO, will send out an email at 4 a.m. asking why something is not aligned. Or we get great ideas from our engineers or our marketing team. I think Flipboard as a company really ups the quality. And I think in general we have a philosophy that it's very important for us to make it right. And as an example for that is the Android release of Flipboard 2.0 is coming very soon, but we want to make sure it's the best it can be. And that means on Android, more testing, more devices, and making sure the quality is top notch. And as far as tools, it's Photoshop, but that's the end design for it. What we start with is drawing, sketching on paper. Really, starting at that point, and then we'll go into prototyping, see how it feels, what's the experience like, and then the final step is going into the graphics and all of that. So it's a pretty a lo-fi start out, and then towards the end it gets more and more technical, and we work directly with the engineers to make sure everything works just the way we want it.
So I think it shows for inspiring designers or students who are just looking, into application development, that you don't really need a huge suite. You can start small with sketching on paper and getting your ideas going from there.
Absolutely. I think sketching on paper is a great way to start, and it's also very cheap. I mean, yeah, you can throw it out and you can start with it. And, prototyping has been great for us too. It's also something you can do pretty quickly. But yeah, sketching has absolutely been a key in all of our developments. And even our CEO, Mike, does that too. He's had folded pieces of paper to show a certain interaction. I mean, it's great if you can make your point with very lo-fi tools. I think that's even better.
So if it's a napkin or InDesign, you're still on your way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your mind can sketch anywhere, right?
Yep,
okay.
Exactly.
Jason would like to know. This is a question about the future of Flipboard. Will there be a feature in the future where we can aggregate feeds together into a custom combined feed?
Absolutely. I mean, we're always looking at new ways that people can, get better content. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? So I think, now with magazines, you can sort of start adding your own stories, and but yeah, in the future, I think it's definitely a possibility where we're always looking at ways to make the content better. And yeah, we hear that, right? Especially with being able to have a little more control over what you want and whatnot. So yeah, we're looking forward to working on those kinds of things.
Okay. One of the big questions we kept getting asked, we had a few readers that asked us, including Jesse and Rob, was, are there any plans to bring Flipboard to Windows 8 or even Windows Phone? Any of the Microsoft platforms, which are left out right now?
We're a pretty small team, so it's tough for us to be on all of these platforms at the same time. So we've decided to focus on iOS and Android. But that said, we're always looking at those platforms out there because we want to be on those platforms. So, in time, yes, but again, going back to quality, that's the most important thing. So, but absolutely, we want to be out there on the platforms that people care about.
Okay. And Matthew would like to know, what device do you use personally and why?
So actually, I use 3 devices, I think, most often. I have an iPhone 5, which I just love. I think it's a great device. I also have a Google phone, the Nexus, which I actually like a lot. It's a bit older now, but I think it was the first amazing Android device. I really liked it. It sort of changed my view of Android, and I think it's a high-quality phone. So I use that as well. And I like it for anything Google related, right? So even Hangouts or email seems to always come in first on that device, which is kind of nice. And I like notifications on Android. And then the last device is my iPad mini, which really changed sort of how, I used to be a very much a Flipboard phone user, like 95% of the time. And now I'm using the iPad mini a lot more. It's so easy to take with you. But I'm also looking forward to using the Nexus 7 a little more. I think that's also a pretty solid device.
Great. Well, it's good to see that Flipboard's on so many platforms, and that really, it seems like it will stretch over the next few years to whatever's growing. It seems like it's going to adapt well.
Absolutely.
Which is exciting.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I thank you for being with us today, and we got a lot of questions answered, and a lot of readers happy with the questions that you were able to respond to that were personally from them. So I'd just like to thank you for taking your time today.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Thank you, too. Okay.